Hi, welcome back. My name is Joshua from Tag. In this video, we would continue the practical section on vector as a data type in R. In the previous video, we learned how to create a vector and how we can combine two vectors together or add a new value to an existing variable in R. We also learned again how we can use the append functions, and right now what we'll be doing would be how to index. What we'll be doing will be indexing a variable in R. So I'm going to do something simple again to create a variable, because we agree that the definition for a variable is nothing but a data element of the same class. So I'm going to create this and say scores, and then I'm going to sequence scores. So this sequence is from the base package, and what the argument it takes is I'm sequencing from 5 and I want it to stop at 20, and by what will this increase be? I want it to go by 2. So what I mean is the first value will be 5, the next to be 7, the next to be 9, unlike we are having like an odd number. So if I run this, if you check the global environment, you will see scores, or you just print scores, you will have scores as values 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, and 19. So here we are dealing with how we can index a vector, how we can index a variable. So when you look at the value we have on the global environment, we have scores, and we have it with a class of numeric, and it ranges from 1 to 8, and then we have the values. So let's take for instance that you are interested in having this value 11. So what you would do is you would call this value. If you are to do this, you are going to call it with respect to the variable it is stored inside, and then you index it with the position. So the position of 11 is in position number 4. So this is the way you are now going to write your code. You say scores, and then you use this square bracket. That is what we have here on the global environment. This square bracket we have on the global environment, which is quite different from these parentheses we have here. That is what it means. So if I put 4 and then I run this, you would see it only brings out 11. So I have successfully indexed out that value from the entire variable. I can also index range of values. So I can say scores and use the square bracket and say I want it to print variables values from 4 to 5 or 4 to 6. So if I run it, I'm expecting 11, 13, and 15. So this is one way in which we can index a variable. And as it is, let's take for instance, you can also exclude a variable. Excluding a value in a variable. So what you will do is still that same approach. You say square bracket. So if you are excluding, just introduce minus. So if you put -1, that means you don't want to see values in position number 1, which is 5. So if I run this, when you see the result, 5 is excluded. The same way we have range, you can print for the range of numbers. You can say -1 to -3. So if you run this, you can have it in this format too. So sometimes you might want to get something of this nature, scores, you want to index, and what you want to index is just values in position 1, 2, 5. Look, when you run this, you will not get the result you are expecting, and that is why we are talking about vector here. So for you to get the exact result you are expecting in such a way that it will index out values in position 1, 2, and 5, you have to introduce the vector function and then run it this way, and you would see it brings out 5, which is in position 1, 7, and 13, which happens to be in position 5. So the same way is the way you would do it if you are excluding values in position 1, 2 and 5. So you say scores, and then you use the square bracket, which is popularly used for indexing, and then you can say C. You open the bracket, you could put -1, then you can put again -2 and -5. So if you run it, it prints out everything excluding values in position 1, 2 and 5. So you can also factorize the minus, take out the minus and say C, and then put 1, 2 and 5. So it gives you the same result. So that is another way in which you can write that code. So it is also possible for you to index a variable with an index vector. What do I mean by index vector? So I'm still going to use this example of 1, 2, 5. So I'm going to call this index, or let me call it index, and then I say index is a variable. I'm using vector to combine it 1, 2 and 5. So if I run this, let's see what will happen. So now I want to index the entire variable using this index vector, which I stored as index. So I would say scores, and then I will use square bracket, I will say index. If I run this, so I have values in position 1, 2 and 5, similar to the same code here in line 9, 7, 5, 7 and 13. So in line 9 I am not using an index factor but index vector, but here in line 20 I am using an index vector, which is a variable I created earlier. So the same way I have done this, you can also say, this is very easy. So I can say scores, and then I say negative, and then I put index. So if I run this, it's going to print out everything excluding the values in positions inside the index vector. So if I run it, the same thing with what is going on here. So what I'm doing is to build viewers from the scratch. When we get to a level in the course of this tutorial where we will be partitioning data into, let's say, test and train, you would appreciate this concept of indexing with an index vector. So for now, this is the way I would do it. And again, one thing I would like to say, which is synonymous to this concept of indexing variable with an index vector, especially this one where we have minus. It's what we are doing here is more like we are removing a certain variable. We are removing a certain value in a variable. And I want to remind us again, the way we remove a variable, this one is completely removing a variable in R, not removing a value in a variable, but removing a variable. I just want to bring it back to our memory. So to do that, we just say rm, and then we put the index, and the index is out. So, but I'm not yet through with that, or you can write it in full, remove, like we did in the previous video on variable creation, the bonus section. So if I run this again, I mean to reprogram the index. So it is possible for me to update, and this is another beautiful thing again about the indexing the variable with an index vector. So it is possible for me to update values in that position, like in position 1, 2 and 5. Now look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to update these values with an extraneous value, something so big like an outlier. So I will say scores. So I'm doing this so that it will look very obvious. So I'll say index, and then what I'm saying is that values that the result I'm going to have, I'm overwriting it. That's what is going on here. I'm replacing them. So I would say index, scores index, and then I open the bracket. I said let the first one be 101, the next be 200, and the next be 300. Now if I run this, check the global environment, you will see that it has been updated with this big value. So if I run my scores again, you would see we have 101, 200 and 300. So if I check the mean value for scores, it's going to give us something too big, in a test that is over 20. So it is not possible the average value for the score in a test that is over 20 is 84. So I'm just doing this for us to appreciate this concept I am talking about. So this part that we've just done is more like using the concept of indexing and applying it to replacement. So let's talk about that issue of replacement again. Take for instance, I have a variable and I call it var. Okay, var, I won't use var. Now look at, let's learn this. I won't use var because var is one of the inbuilt functions, so it is not professional. And so I'll say var underscored me, for instance, var underscored me, and I say this is Sunday, or yeah, Sunday Monday and Tuesday. So if I run this, let's take for instance I want to replace this Sunday with Saturday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to call that var underscore me, the variable that is storing it first, and then I use that to make a reference to it. So the next question I will ask myself is, Sunday is in what position in that variable? Is in position 1. So if I run this, definitely I'm going to have Sunday. So what I'm now doing after indexing is to replace, and to do this I use this assignment operator, and then I'm replacing with another character, so it must be quoted. So it must be quoted, and I say Saturday. So instead of bringing out Sunday, please overwrite that Sunday with Saturday. That's what this code is all about. And if you check your global environment, or you just highlight var underscore me like I've told us before, and you run it, you would see you would have Saturday in the place of Sunday, and then we have next Monday and Tuesday. So we'll stop at this point, and in the next video we will continue at this point where we discontinue. So once again, I want to appreciate you for your time. Thank you very much for choosing to learn R with me. God bless you. If you are yet to subscribe, please kindly do so, and remember to share with your colleagues. Bye bye. God bless you.